Hello, my friends. Welcome. Today, we're going to be talking about a favorite topic of mine, and it's problem solving. How to solve problems. Now, I really didn't give problem solving a lot of thought. I would just solve problems implicitly until I ran into a problem solving approach that I have found quite intriguing. It's documented in a book known as the Project Management Body of Knowledge Guide, 6th edition. And I fondly refer to this as the Dig-Sieve approach. D-I-G-C-I-V. Dig-Sieve. The Dig-Sieve approach. Now, before we go into the Dig-Sieve approach, let's first of all play around with the idea about problem solving. So you often hear these terms. You hear the term issue. You've definitely heard that one. Issue. You've heard the term problem. You've heard the term risk, obviously, right? But they're all different. An issue is something that is happening right now. It's an important topic or a problem for debate or discussion. Now, you could have a positive issue. I was just mulling over this with my buddy, the risk doctor, a couple of years ago, and we were trading emails back and forth. And he said, an issue could be a positive thing. You could have a positive issue, it could be a negative issue. And that's true. But when you use this word, problem, it sticks out like a sore thumb. That's something that needs to be done. There's no positive problem, is there? It's usually a negative problem, a negative thing, right? When it comes to risk is uncertainty that is not yet happening. Issues, problems, those are things that are happening and need immediate attention. We could have a positive risk and we could have the concept of a negative risk. But problem sticks out, right? Because problem is happening now and it's definitely something we want to get rid of. People use these terms issue and problem interchangeably. So a problem is a matter or situation regarded as unwelcome or harmful and needing to be dealt with and overcome. With a problem, intervention is needed. You definitely need to do some solving, right? So problem solving involves seeking solutions. When you talk about problem solving, we're talking about solutions. And how you get those solutions could be very broad and deep, depending on the situation at hand. Some problems are very easy to resolve. Some problems need a whole lot of strategy, a whole lot of analysis before they're solved. Whole lot of debate, discussion, and so on. I like what ASQ says about problem solving. I'm going to read their quote here. ASQ says, problem solving is the act of defining a problem, determining the cause of the problem, identifying, prioritizing, and selecting alternatives for a solution, and implementing a solution. And that's from ASQ. Got a brilliant website with lots of good information on there. So the approach that I told you about, I call this the Dig-Sieve approach. D-I-G-C-I-V. The Dig-Sieve approach. So we're going to talk about these one by one. D stands for define. Define the problem. That is the first thing you want to do with your team. Gather them around and define the problem. This can take many different dimensions, but you might want to follow what the ASQ tells us. ASQ tells us that you got to differentiate fact from opinion. You need to specify the underlying causes of the problem, consult each faction involved for information, state the problem specifically, identify what standard or expectation is violated, determine in which process the problem lies, and avoid trying to solve the problem without data. Data. You want your data, you want your data, you want your data. All right, so when you're defining the problem, try and make it SMART, very specific, measurable. Be sure to put it around whatever time frames are involved. Just make sure that you got good data to back that up. Now, moving on to identifying the root cause. That's the next one. Identify the root cause. Get down to the root. One of my favorite tools to use, I use this quite a lot with teams because it's very, very rapid and effective, is the Ishikawa diagram. Yes, you knew I was going to talk about the Ishikawa, didn't you? Because it is one of the most popular ways of solving problems by first identifying the root cause. If you identify the root cause and you cut off the root cause, problem solved. It's like diffusing a bomb, right? So the most common of all of these is, like I said, the Ishikawa diagram. A cause and effect diagram will enable the user to drill down. So what you're going to do is you're going to find the causes, right? The cause of this problem. That's the fish head. So whatever the problem is, you want to find the causes. And the causes could be from a smattering of areas. It could be men, it could be machines, it could be the environment, it could be a number of things. And there are various configurations for Ishikawas that you could use. So that is identify the root cause. Other names, like I said, for the cause and effect, Ishikawa fishbone diagram, also known as a YY diagram. But the bottom line is you're going to get to those causes and eliminate as many of those causes as you go through your strategizing regarding how to solve the problem. All right. Next, we go on to the G. So we've talked about define, identify. Now is the G. G for generate. What are you going to do here? You're going to generate possible solutions. Again, ASQ, you probably realize they're one of my favorite sites, but the ASQ gives a 6-step process to generate alternative solutions. 1, postpone evaluating alternatives initially. In other words, don't begin generating alternatives just yet. Include all involved individuals in the generating of alternatives. Get everyone to the table. Specify alternatives consistent with organizational goals. Specify short and long-term alternatives. And then brainstorm on others' ideas. And then seek alternatives that may solve the problems. You see, there's quite a number of things. Quite a number of things you could do here. All right, let's move on. So that's DI, that's generate. We're going into the letter C now. What is C? C is for choose. All right, so we're going into choose now, and this is choose the best alternative. So choosing the best alternative, a voting process could help. Voting processes could help you make the decision. And we could have, use different ways of voting. You could use a spectrum of possibilities all the way from veto to fully agree. And this is very much like the Jim Highsmith decision spectrum. If you haven't taken a look at it, just Google it. But the bottom line is you're going to vote, and whether you're using fist or 5, the fist is absolutely disagree, a 1, a 2, a 3, 4, 5, full agreement, right? Whatever you're using, whether you're using the Highsmith decision spectrum, fist of 5, simple voting, whatever you're doing, just choose the best solution, right? So you could use, another concept is to say, it has to be a unanimous decision, or majority, or plurality, or autocratic decision making, or MCDA, multi-criteria decision analysis, or the nominal group technique. You can use so many of these, all right? So that's choose the best alternative. Whatever you do, make sure the team is in agreement. That's how you choose the best solution. The nominal group technique, like I said, is another way that you could vote. And the way that technique works, we'll talk about it for a quick second here. The nominal group technique, that's another technique that you could use when you're choosing the best alternative. Step 1, a question or problem is posed to the group. Step 2, moderator writes down the ideas. Step 3, all the ideas are recorded and discussed. And step 4, the team members vote. So you could use any of these votings on the best ideas. It's the best ideas, okay? Those are the ones that you want to spend time choosing, ultimately. All right. So let's go on to the next one, the I. And the next one is I for implement. Implement. So what do you do here? The team should first plan and implement a pilot test of chosen alternatives. The test should be conducted in a real-world scenario and real-world environment. Implementing the solutions means observing during the pilot to understand what works, what doesn't. When an understanding of what works and what does not work is achieved, a second round of pilot testing should be carried out until equilibrium, perfection, or a desired result is obtained. So that's the I. And last but not least is the V for verify. Verify solution effectiveness. So you really want to make sure that system, whatever you did, is stable. Gather feedback from all affected parties. Make sure that the solution really worked for them. Seek acceptance or consensus and evaluate long-term results based on the final solution. Where some problems are discussed, it could be possible for a solution to take several months to craft and to verify that it actually worked. All right, so that's it, my friends. It's the DIG-CIV approach. I call it the dig sieve approach. If you found this to be helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, share it with your friends. But for those of you who are studying project management, this is buried in the manage quality process. Buried right there. I see it as a treasure trove of guidance. I hope you enjoyed it. You take care. Speak to you soon.